Hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Planets and Predictions. I'm Dallisa Hocking, a fifth generation psychic medium, and I'm going to be joined here in just a moment by Scott Tejerian. He's an author, an astrologer. His website is theweeklytransit.com. And most of you know me by now here on my channel. My website is spiritandSpark.com. So just welcoming everybody in. So say hello. Let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from today. And as you comment, your little bauble is going to go inside of the jar. At the end of today's show, I'll be pulling a winner, and it will be for a personalized 12-month tarot report. So hello. Welcome in. It's good to see everybody. Beth, Melissa, Jackie, Michelle, Catherine, hello. Yay. Okay, so Linda's tuning in from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Looks like Beth is in Kentucky. Michelle, hello, is in Ohio. Constance, of course, down the street in Washington. Trina, Wilmington, North Carolina. Melissa is in Denver. Keep it coming. Let us know. I'm going to bring Scott on to the episode so we can just dig right into the astrology. Oh, Scott.
Yes. What is up, Dallisa? Great to see you. Great to connect with you again.
Yeah, we just had you on last week.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the guest that I had scheduled for today ended up not being able to come on the episode. And so at the very last minute, I was like, let me see if my buddy Scott's available.
Yes.
So I always love talking about astrology with you. And
feelings are mutual. Yes.
So what the heck is going on right now up in the sky as you have little Fraser joining the show behind me? I think we've got Mars opposite Pluto. We have Mars that had moved into Leo, I think, since the last time we talked. So what's on your radar right now?
So, Mars is opposite Pluto, but it's also the Sun has been squaring Mars and Pluto. It's like this T square, the two oppositions, the god of war opposing the god of death, both of which are squaring the Sun, which is the planet of light, life, and vitality. So, there's this tension between your heart. Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Mars is transiting through Leo, which is the sign that rules the heart. So there is this active, heart-filled energy where we are being driven towards actualizing or realizing our joy, but along the way we are running into some challenges, and the challenge is with the Sun in Taurus, which is our material resources. So maybe your what you desire in terms of your heart and your sense of joy is not being is not possible because of your material limitations. There could also be, with the opposition to Pluto and Aquarius, it may be the group or the community or society at large may be creating an opposition and conflict to what you want, your sense of joy. Not to jump too far ahead, but I noticed you had a thing about there's a lot of protests going on, and so that could be an example of that, where it's like people are really wanting to exert their desires, and there is pushback from society at large. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, let's try to think of like a couple of real life examples of how this may be coming up. So could it be that you want one thing perhaps, but you're getting pushback from other people or another person? So it's just naturally like causing fights and tension with people.
Yes, it's you're feeling maybe pushback from other people, but also pushback from the reality of your own circumstance. It's like, I really want to go to Bermuda for the summer, but I don't have the money. It's like something like that. Maybe it's something that you really want to experience, or something that you desire in the material realm that you don't have the money to make it happen. So, but there. I don't want listeners to think of this as like, oh, I'm screwed, because it really doesn't have to be that way. Like when you think about how, we've talked about this. I mean, I've talked about this a lot on my podcast, but of course also with you, Dallisa, over the last few months, with all these planets or energies in Pisces, where Venus is still in Pisces, Saturn is still in Pisces, and the North Node is transiting through Pisces. These are all encouraging us to release control and have faith, you know um like just a personal story for me. Like an example is, I have a friend who's getting married this summer, and I'm in the wedding. He asked me to be a groomsman, and they're having a bachelor party, and I was asking the best man, like, what's this bachelor party going to cost? And he didn't get back to me. And I'm just like thinking, like, this is going to cost me like, $1,000 or something. I don't know. It's like, this is more money than I really, it's me being beyond my means, And so I just made the decision that I'm, I'm not going to go, and I'm going to have to tell my friend, and he's going to be disappointed maybe, but hopefully understanding. And I let it go. I've released control. I'm like, I'm not going to try to force this, make this happen, because it's going to put me and my partner in, financial strain, which I don't want. And then, a few days later, the best man reached out to me and said, this is how much it's going to cost. And it was going to be like, just for the room alone, like they're renting a house, it's like $750 for the three, and that's just, the lodging. He's like, but I've got you covered on that. Like, I don't want you to worry about the money. He's like, I would love for you to drive with me from LA to the location where it's going to be, because everyone's flying. He's like, I've got to take, everyone's golf clubs, and I'm not golfing. But he's like, if you want to come with me, yeah, I would love your company. I love having conversations with you. But either way, like, I just want you there. Like, don't even worry about what it costs, because you're not going to have to pay for it. And that was sort of the indication for me of like just letting go and being fine with, it's not that I don't want to go, but I can't afford to go. I need to live within my means. And that's what a lot of us really need to think about, especially with Uranus in Taurus. Like, we have to really think about, am I living within my means? And when we live in this Instagram, Facebook fueled, keeping up with the Joneses society, where you see all these people, they're driving this car, they're going on this vacation or that vacation. And we really just have to focus on living within our means. And if that means you can't go on the trip, then you can't go on the trip, because it's not financially responsible for you to go on the trip. And once I made that decision that it wasn't financially responsible for me to go on the trip, and I let it go, that's when the Pisces frequency came in and someone said, no, I'm paying for you. Like, I want you to be there. And that's the magic that can happen during this period when you're not trying to force something.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, because I hear it a lot as a business owner. I don't know if you hear it as well, but I have more and more people that reach out to me on a regular basis. It's like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, or I don't know how I'm going to pay for that, or it's, I haven't felt this in several years, where I've heard money be a part of the conversation as much as it is right now. And I'm sure the news headlines are part of it, and the stock market, and the tariffs and the interest rates and everything else. But it's the first time in a long time where I've heard people talk about how they have either maxed out their credit cards or they're in way more debt than they ever wanted to be.
Mhm.
Um, and like I'll give an example, my Sacred Signals community, it's $15 a month and you get a ton of really awesome stuff for that price point. And I've had people reach out to me lately and they're like, I don't know where I'm going to find $15 a month.
Hmm.
And it makes me like, oh, like takes the breath out of me hearing that, because I could feel, the person on the other end of that email having to send an email like that. Um, it's really concerning. So I do think, and I've been, making predictions about money and the stock market and everything like that. I do feel like we're headed into a major crunch time where people are really going to be questioning
Mhm.
everything. So I love your example. Yes, that trip would have been really expensive, but because you didn't try to control it or hang on too tightly, the universe delivered an answer for you so you could still go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is too, is like I'm a North Node in Scorpio, and that's part of me following my soul's purpose is allowing others to take care of me financially when they're offering to do so. It's not about clinging so tight to the money and the finances. It has to be this, that, and the next thing. That's the Taurus frequency, and Uranus transiting through Taurus is really shaking it up for everyone. So it's important for us all to really think about: am I living within my means? And if not, what do I need to do to make that right? And how can I clear the debt? What am I spending money on? Like, what really has value? Like if someone can't afford the $15 a month for your sacred signals, maybe there might be $15 somewhere else that they're spending. Like if you're spending, if you're going to Starbucks every day, I don't know, it's something like that. That's 15. Like really, everyone needs to really be paying attention to where their money is going. Like each week, I sit down with my partner Gabriella, and we look at every dollar that came in and every dollar that went out, and we're really paying attention to where our money is coming from and where it's going. And it has helped so much. It not only has helped us financially, but it's also helped us just in terms of our energy. Because when, like I was having lunch today, right before you texted me with my friend who's getting married, and he's like, his fiance is stressed out about how much the wedding's costing, this and that. And he's like, I don't want you to stress out about how much the wedding's costing. I'm not stressed out about it, but I will be stressed out about it if you're not telling me what you're spending money on and how much it's costing. You tell me what you need money for and how much it's costing, and then we can make a plan to make it work. It's when you just dump in my lap a number and I don't know where this came from or what this for, then I get anxiety. So we need to take the blinders off in terms of where we're spending our money and be more mindful about all of it.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And it's like looking at it from the viewpoint of let's be clear and look at the facts,
Mm-hmm.
but also not going into scarcity mindset, but instead just operating under the understanding of what money we have, where it's going, and then making decisions accordingly. Um, I have to call something to your attention.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-oh, what happened?
So in the chat, I think it's actually a really interesting example of the
Yes.
live chat. I had to go in and remove someone
Oh,
because they were in the live chat trying to fight everybody.
oh.
So the Mars opposite Pluto, after
Yeah.
we just got done talking about that example,
Yes. Exactly. Right.
then
My
someone
God.
literally went in the chat and started picking fights with people.
Oh my God.
Like
Yeah.
you can't make this stuff up. Like that
No.
is astrology in real
Yes.
time
In
happening.
real time.
Um,
Exactly.
so I don't know who that person was, but I
Yeah.
apologize to everyone that they just tried to pick a fight with.
Huh.
So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Is this nothing person?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's a very telling name. Nothing. You know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how that
And
person
Jackie's
feels
saying
about
I
themselves.
reported him.
My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't put up with stuff like that. So
No.
I kept seeing out of the corner of my eye, like
Yeah.
really horrible things happening in the chat. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Like, so I didn't know if I could do it from my cell phone and block or remove.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Mm.
got distracted there for a moment.
Mm.
Whew, okay.
Yeah.
So Uranus and Taurus, and that's getting actually close to the late degrees. And then we've
Hmm.
talked about how it's going to go into Gemini early degrees, and it's going to go retrograde back over the late degrees of Taurus. So,
Yeah.
a lot of headlines about money and our own personal money, world money, USA money, all of it for a long period of time, with the
Exactly.
retrograde included. So we're not going to just have this be, this week's discussion about how money is tight. It's going to become, I think, more and more of the conversation, unfortunately. But I also think that innovation and creativity will be rewarded. And so even people listening to this, that maybe they did sit down with their partner, their significant other, and had a conversation about money. And they're like, well, we're going to have to cut this, this, and this. And one of them says, well, I've always wanted to start that side hustle. Maybe now's the time for it. And they start talking about creating another revenue stream in their household. So I do think people are going to get a little bit scrappier with how they earn extra money and how that can contribute to household expenses. So I don't think it has to be doom and gloom, but if you're like,
Mm.
gosh, I really could use another $500 to $1,000 a month, it's like, cool. Now that you have that number, we can work backwards and figure out like,
Mm.
what do you want to do and how do you want to bring that money in?
For sure. I think that Uranus is the planet of independence. So, what the universe is urging us to do is to create financial independence. And financial independence comes from doing something that you enjoy doing something that you value. So, how are you making your money? So, if it's that side hustle where it's like, you know what, I really hate my job, I would rather make less money than I'm making in my job and do something that I really love. If I cut these pieces out of like the money that I'm spending every month, like if I'm buying, a bottle of wine every other night, or it's like, what if I didn't do that? What if I just stopped, spending so much money on alcohol or on coffee or whatever it may be? If you cut that out, now you have extra income in a sense, that you can put towards those other interests that you have, that could make you some money.
Yeah, I saw a headline, I think it was yesterday, that one of the indicators, I guess economists were looking at to see if we're going to go into a recession, and if so, how quickly. And one of the things they were looking at is how women are scaling back on how often they get their hair cut, their eyelashes done, their nails done, as a big indicator. And so they are seeing that women are starting to cancel or push those appointments back.
Yep.
And I even heard from somebody today who's a massage therapist. She's like, people aren't spending the kind of money that they were spending, even just like a couple of months ago or even a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really slipping pretty quickly in that
Oh yeah.
direction. But
Yes.
I can see that because they said, oh, yeah, watch to see how long women's hair gets because it'll show you kind of where they're at with, booking a haircut.
Yeah.
So,
Well, wait till women stop shaving their armpits and legs because it's like, why am I, why do I need to buy a razor? You know, like that's a waste of money too. It can be, I guess, like if it's important for you to shave your body hair, but otherwise, like, who cares? You know?
if it gets to that point, like, I will spend the dollar on the razor.
You will?
Oh, yes.
Let
Oh,
it
yes.
grow. Let it grow,
No,
Dallisa.
I do not. Let me know in the chat, everybody. You can take a vote for Scott or Dallisa if you would still buy a razor or not. Like, if it gets that bad where I can't afford a razor, listen. But there are other things I'd cut back on because, like, for example, during COVID, I would buy like the box dye for like the base of my hair color.
Mhm.
It's like $7, but you go to the salon, and even these days, if I were to go, my last haircut with some like lighter color in it, over $300. So you're going
Yeah,
to start seeing people going on YouTube and learning how to cut hair from home. And
that's what we do. We cut our own hair over here,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. So let's see
I can
here.
do as bad of a job as anyone else.
What's that? Sorry.
I can do as bad of a job as anyone else. So,
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. We're getting a lot of votes in the live chat about they would still buy a razor.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. They're saying razor all the way.
Okay.
Okay. So we
Wow.
got the.
Women don't like hair on their legs or their armpits.
I, yeah,
Huh.
I think the worm season's coming. I don't necessarily like want to have a tank top on with some like hairy tendrils like hanging out.
Let it flow, Dallisa.
No,
Let it flow.
no. Oh my gosh. Well, now that the conversation has gone to hairy armpits and razors, I think it's time to pull up the weekly headlines because I know you wanted to
Okay.
look at the Pope and talk about
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit. So let's start with first article here is about people with more protests. So we talked about that recently as well.
Mhm.
Protests are popping up more and more. And they're anticipated to keep going now and into the future. So do you think this is like a Pluto and Aquarius thing where we're going to be seeing a lot of protests during this, or do you attribute it to some other kind of astrological transit?
I think it's that, but I also think it's, the Mars opposing Pluto aspect, Mars and Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius. And but yeah, I think with Pluto and Aquarius, there's going to be a lot more uh, just that extroverted expression of people expressing themselves in terms of what they want to change, but doing it publicly. This is an extroverted expression. We're getting to that point now where think about 1995 to '08. Everybody who was born between 95 and '08 was born with Pluto in Sagittarius. And so that's a fire sign. If you were born in 1995, you're 30. If you were born in 2008, you're what's that? 17. So is that 17? Yeah, 17. So 16. So these people are between 16 and 30 years old. Their energy is going to be get out there in the streets and express yourself energetically. Think about the 1960s. Why was there so many protests in the streets in the 1960s? Because those people that were in the streets were born with Pluto and Leo.
Ah,
So when you have a generation of people that's in their teens and 20s that all have Pluto in a fire sign, whether it's Leo in the 1960s or Sagittarius right now, you're going to have that extroverted, expressive energy, as opposed to, the people that were born in like was it 72 to 83, like that's the Libra generation. They're like, chill. They'd rather like relax or something, and then you've got the Scorpio generation after that, that like they're, the keyboard warriors. They're doing all the, they're in their caves typing on the keyboard. But now it's like you got this new generation that's coming to age that's ready to burn everything down.
Oh, interesting. So everybody should look at their chart and see what sign you have Pluto in, to get an idea. Oh, that's so fascinating.
I mean,
Wow.
think about the American Revolution, the French Revolution. Who were the soldiers fighting that war? They were all born with Pluto in Sagittarius. The general Washington was Pluto in Libra. So he was the heir that was directing that fire. And then you had the generals below him that were Pluto in Scorpio, and they were like the great tacticians. They were the ones that knew how to do the sneak attacks and that sort of stuff. But the people that were actually on the ground fighting, getting killed, were the Sagittarius generation, because they're just like, live free or die. That's Sagittarius, live free or die. And that's how this generation, you're going to see more of this, over the next several years, whether it's Trump in charge or anyone else. There's going to be, people are going to be fiery and hot. And that Sagittarius generation is live free or die. Yes. Awesome, Jackie. Yes.
Oh, Mimosa Rose. Oh, what a cool
Yeah.
name. Pluto and
Yes,
Scorpio.
yes. She looks like she's got that Scorpio vibe.
I have
Does
to I have to bring this.
Okay, there you
My
go.
boyfriend does my toenails and fingernails, so we save money there.
Exactly.
I love
Yes.
that. Yeah, why not do it
Yep.
together? Yeah, Kelly's saying Pluto and Scorpio.
Hmm.
Danielle's saying that's me. Don't panic. So I'm guessing she's got Pluto and Libra like I do.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We're
It'll all
chill.
work out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It'll all work out. Okay, let's see what the next one is. This one is about how Easter, Putin said, oh, yeah, we're going to have a ceasefire. We're going to take Easter off. And then apparently proceeded to have attacks and targeted assaults on Ukraine. So not holding true to what he said. So where does that show up in the astrology about somebody maybe saying something but then not doing what they say they're going to do?
I mean, if I was advising President Vladimir Zelensky as his astrologer, I would be telling him right now, like, or last week, and I'd say for the next week, Pluto is opposing Mars. This is the god of war opposing the god of death. This is not a peaceful time. So if anyone's telling you there's peace during this time, I would be wary of that. I would be on guard if you're not on the attack. I would be on guard. I would not trust anything that they're saying. I mean, Pluto is the planet that rules Scorpio, and Scorpio is a sign of secrets. And so the fact that you have Pluto, the planetary ruler of the sign of secrets, in the most open sign, Aquarius, opposing Mars, the god of war, in an extremely extroverted sign, the sign of the lion, how can anyone think that there's going to be peace during that time? I mean, that's a wish. I think Ukraine got fooled, and they shouldn't be listening to these people. I'm not saying that they should have attacked Russia, but I would definitely be on high alert. That'd just be
Yeah,
my
even my
objective.
cats
Yeah.
are fighting, ran down the hallway. So it's it's in the energy.
Yes.
Yeah. I think of the example of like, oh, if you're somebody who works in like an office setting and you maybe have an important meeting this week, a team meeting, And if you go around the table and ask people like how they're feeling, I I don't know if it's like the best week to do that.
Mhm.
They might just tell you what they think, and it might come out as like that fiery Mars and Leo of like, hear me roar. So I
Mhm.
would be mindful this week of, if you're going to ask a question like that, maybe it's to your spouse or significant other or your kid or your parent, and you're going to ask them, yeah, how are you doing? They might just unload on you how they're really doing. So be prepared if you're going to ask that question.
And that's a good thing, though, because this is clearing energy that is stuck, that has been suppressed, and so it needs to come to the surface. We need to express how we're feeling, and if you've been holding on too tightly to how you're feeling and trying to keep it under wraps, it might come out in an explosive manner. So better to speak up and let some steam out than try to hold it in and then explode later.
I had a friend of mine the other day. She said, oh, I decided I was going to scream into my pillow. And then I realized that the pillow wasn't muffling me enough, and everyone ended up hearing me in the apartment surrounding me.
Yeah. It
And
sounded like they were somebody had the pillow over their head face and they were they were screaming. It's like call 911.
yeah. So be wary of how you're going to let some steam out, and ask yourself,
Mhm.
is this really helping?
Yes.
Um, yeah. Mary Lou is saying, I'm feeling totally undone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that would make sense with the Capricorn Sun, Libra Moon, and Rising because those are cardinal signs. And, we've got Mercury, Chiron, and Neptune all in Aries, which are either opposing those Libra placements or they're squaring the Capricorn placement potentially. So it all depends on what degrees the Sun, Rising, and Moon are at, but they could be getting squared or opposed by either Mercury, Neptune, or Chiron. So Chiron would bring up wounds and insecurity, and Neptune would bring up confusion or not being clear about what's going on, and Mercury would bring up potentially some frustration around communicating and coordinating and how everything is just kind of functioning in your life in a logistical manner.
And if somebody is taking their frustrations out on you, or they're trying to pick a
Mhm.
fight, just like our person in the chat earlier, it's like, try to let it roll off your back as best you can, because they might not have a way that they're releasing that steam in a maybe a healthy way, or they don't even know about the astrology and why everything feels like it's compounding for them. So if somebody is coming at you in some way, just try not to take it personal.
Yes. But yeah, don't take it personal. It's about them, not you. But at the same time, they're also maybe showing you something about yourself that you need to delve into and look at more closely. Uh, like I think everyone here, myself included, I'm like, why is this person here in the chat where I'm on? Is there some anger in me that I need to release that I'm holding on to too tightly? Is there something I need to open up about? So it's something to think about. We're all
Yeah,
reflecting each other.
maybe consider asking ourselves, what am I not saying? Just like you mentioned a minute ago, what am I not saying that I should be saying right now? And if you don't feel like you can say it to the person right now, could you write it out? Can you meditate on it? But asking yourself, like, where is that truth that is seeking to come out that I'm squishing down?
Hmm. Yes,
Yeah, interesting.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh, Jackie's got a good comment. We get a cheat sheet with astrology so we can make space for what we are seeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome, Jackie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what our next headline is here. I think it's the
Mm.
Pope.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. The
So
Pope.
we know that the Pope passed away. We have been talking about it in Sacred Signals. We have a Discord community. And a bunch of us were feeling like this was the end of his time on earth and this incarnation. Um, so I don't think many people were surprised by it. I did make a little video yesterday because I tuned into his energy. Because a lot of people were shocked, right? They saw him on Sunday on Easter in front of, I think it was like 200,000 people, and then he's gone hours later.
Yeah.
So when I looked at the energy of it, I felt it was like his farewell, like his goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like he knew that he was coming to the end of his time here on earth.
Yeah.
And what a day to go, right? Whether you like
Totally.
Catholicism or not, or you align with the Pope or not, it's like
It's
if you're
poetic.
a Pope and you exit on Easter Monday, like that's pretty symbolic and
Yeah.
significant.
Oh
So
yeah.
you had looked at his chart.
Hmm.
So what were you seeing about like sun, moon, and rising? About and you shared something backstage about like how he was living in a small quarters
Well, so he
within
was
the
known.
Vatican.
I just, I don't follow this too closely, but yesterday I was listening to the radio, and this guy was talking about the top news stories of the day, and the top news story was that the Pope died, and they were saying that he was known as the Pope of the people, because he like famously did not ride in the Pope mobile, or he took off that glass container that all the popes hide behind, that bulletproof glass container, because he is like, how can I connect with the people if I'm hiding in a sardine can, even if the sardine can is made of glass. And then I guess he also lived in it says humble style. He lived in like apparently the popes live in this very opulent apartment, but he didn't live there. He lived in like a normal cottage in Vatican City, just like with the rest of the folks there. So apparently he was very humble, but it makes sense because he's a sixth house sun, north node, and Jupiter. And the sixth house is the house of service, so it would indicate that he would want to be of service. He was born with the sun in Sagittarius, which is the priest or the preacher. So being born with the sun in Sagittarius in the sixth house would, I mean, in the north node in the sixth house in Sagittarius conjunct the sun. I mean, this is a man who is really living his soul's purpose, because he was, of service to others as a priest, but also allowed the spotlight to find him with the sun conjunct the north node. Now, these 2 points with the north node and the sun were being squared by Venus, Saturn, and the north node. So, I imagine these last few weeks or a couple months were very difficult for him, with Saturn squaring his sun and his north node. Uranus was also in conjunct his sun. Those are all really tense aspects. And then Chiron was forming a trine with his sun, the wound. Jupiter was conjunct his Chiron, expanding the wound. That was all happening. The moon and Pluto were squaring his Uranus. That's a tense transit. And then the Mercury was squaring his Jupiter. So he had a lot of tense transits going on. And Venus, Saturn, and the North Node were all transiting through the house of death, the eighth house. So it looked like he was dealing with a lot astrologically. And, hopefully he's at peace, hanging out with, wherever the Pope thinks they're supposed to be in heaven, having wine with Jesus and the other popes. I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really fascinating when you see it show up in a chart like that, where you see all the intensity.
Hmm.
Yeah, whenever it was where he was admitted into the hospital and they weren't sure if he was going to make it, I was psychically getting that he passed. So
Mm.
it is interesting if he passed, did they bring him back? Um, successfully. Because then when I would see him in these little clips recently of him being in public, I'm like, he doesn't even seem like he's in his right mind or all the way like in his body. So I think that
Yeah.
the end there was pretty tough for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he had like a lung removed or something. Like he had some kind of lung ailment, and yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a couple questions in here about, is this the last pope?
no,
Is Catholicism going to change? I know there's some
no,
things in the astrology about like religion being
yeah,
like a big topic
yeah.
now. So it will be interesting to see how the heads of different churches, not even just Catholicism, but seeing how they pivot and move through the time ahead. But
I think the
Angel,
church always evolves, right? They're always changing something, because it's amazing that they've even survived this long after, like, I think he was the one in charge with when all the rape and molestation, that all came out. It's like any other organization that was guilty of that much child abuse, rape, and molestation would not exist. Like, if that doesn't tell you how powerful the Catholic Church is, that they survive that and are still doing their thing, then I don't know what does. Because I can't think of another organization that could get away with that and still survive.
yeah, I think the statistics is that like 1 in 8 people identify as Catholic in the world.
Yeah, so there you
So
have it. So they buy
yeah,
and a lot of Catholic people are ride or die. They yeah, okay. So that was a bad priest that molested that child. What does that have to do with Jesus and my religion? I guess nothing. So I don't really subscribe to that point of view, but obviously there's millions and millions of people that are very committed to that and to the culture, or the whatever you want to call it, the tradition of Catholicism.
yeah. Okay, moving right along to our next headline. This is about Sweden having tanks, Finland having troops. Welcome to the Pan Nordic Army. So, this article is about how Nordic countries are looking to pool different resources and get themselves ready for a war. And I know earlier in the live comments, somebody was commenting about how in Europe they're basically being prepared for war over there as citizens living in Europe. Um, so let's see. Would this be Neptune into Aries? Like, what would you do about, like, what would you point to in astrology for a correlation of people coming together against an enemy?
Well, people coming together against an enemy sounds more like Pluto and Aquarius, because people, the community, is Aquarius. Uh,
So
but I
maybe it's
mean,
the Mars and Leo opposing
it could
Pluto and
it
Aquarius.
could
Yeah.
it could be that, but I just look at the four planets that we talk about all the time: Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Chiron is where it was the last time it was in this position was Vietnam.
Mm.
Uranus is in the same position that it was in 1941. What was happening then? Oh yeah, that's when the United States went to war. And then Neptune in early Aries. What was happening then? Oh, that's right. The American Civil War began. And then Pluto in Aquarius. What was happening then? The French and American revolutions. So you know, uh, it's all of that. It's people are feeling insecure about their security with Uranus transiting through the sign of security, the planet of revolution in the sign of security. That creates insecurity about your material and your security. Do you feel safe? Neptune creates that ideological frequency, and Aries is the self. So people are moving into this frequency of I am right. The way that I think is right. I'm connected to God. God is telling me what is right. And then you've got, Chiron and Aries, insecurity to self confidence and who we are. And then Pluto and Aquarius is revolutionizing the collective and society, or transforming it.
As you mentioned, those planets and placements and how they're attached to the war energy in the past, Spirit shows it to me like, and maybe it's because my cats have been fighting for most of the time that I've been on here today.
Yes.
But like a ball of yarn. It's like, it's all like twisted and tangled and yeah, maybe they took off. I don't know. I don't see them anymore.
Your cats are the all you have to know what's going on with the astrology is how your cats are behaving throughout the day.
Oh God. Yeah, their latest thing is who can climb up to the highest box that I have packed for my move.
Mm.
So I think they determine who is reigning for the day based on who can climb the highest. Unfortunately, it's on boxes that are labeled fragile.
Oh God!
So,
oh no! Oh boy!
It's been fun. It's been fun. Yeah, Victoria is saying we are in a hotbed of chaos.
Yeah, exactly. So let's try not to engage in the chaos. Let's try to make peace within ourselves so that we don't get caught up in it. I'm excited about the possibilities that are coming in as fast and it scares people. Yeah, good, Jackie.
The compost will grow an amazing garden.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. The good news is that a lot of people lived through all those wars that I just mentioned. Not everybody died. So, humanity did continue after that. I think the best choice is to, do our best to find that peace within ourselves and avoid the conflicts.
Yeah, avoid the conflicts. Yes, Jackie's asked me if I'm in my new place. Great question, Jackie. This is one of those things where, you just kind of have to let go of control, as Scott says. So, no, I'm not in my new place. Not only that, but I will be staying with my mom.
Yes.
For probably a few weeks with her two cats and my two cats. And Frankie, her biological brother, is one of my parents' cats. And they do not like each other. So we're going to have a house with 4 cats. And so all of my stuff is going on the U-Haul. But when it actually lands is anyone's guess right now. So I don't know. But no, I'm currently still in my original place with boxes up and down the hallway. So yeah, Victoria's even saying her French bulldogs have been grumpy with each other.
We're getting it out. All of the living creatures are getting it out.
Oh, yeah. Watch your animals. They'll show you for sure. Okay, let's see what our next headline is. China. So I think this is probably aligned with what you were just saying about Sweden and Finland. But China basically has said if you side with the United States and the tariffs and trade deals, we're going to get you back. So I think that pretty much aligns.
Yeah, and it's that Neptune in Aries, it's like you're going to see a lot of countries where it's like we got to take care of number one, It's not about cooperation as much as it is I got to do what's best for my country. And that is kind of the ideology that I'm an American. This is what Americans do, or I'm Chinese. This is what the Chinese, whatever it is. Like that's sort of the disillusioned ideology that's occurring. And then, Uranus in Taurus, again, shaking up that financial and material security. What better time to start a trade war than when Uranus is transiting through the last 5 degrees of Taurus?
Yeah, why not? It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
we don't want to let the astrology down. We better
No,
start a trade war over tariffs. Uh,
exactly.
Perfectly timed. I do think that some of these leaders have astrologers. They
Hmm.
have
Yeah,
to.
I think so.
Otherwise, I mean, if I were president, I would have probably a few astrologers consulting me on all kinds of things.
Well, we know that
Um,
Reagan did. Reagan or Nancy had an astrologer, and she
yeah.
wouldn't let Reagan, like after he got shot, she wouldn't let him leave the White House unless it was cleared with her astrologer.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Joan, was it Joan something?
I don't know. I don't know what her name was. I
Yeah, I
can't
think
think
she
about it
wrote a
on the
book.
top of my head. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. And then our last headline on
Mm.
here is Klaus Schwab quits as the World Economic Forum chair. So I think that goes with like Uranus, Taurus, last 5 degrees of Taurus, shakeups
Exactly.
with money.
Yep.
What are we doing? Yeah.
Yep.
So just
And
more
and
examples.
and
Yeah.
and Pluto and Aquarius, that as well. It's the World Economic Forum. He's the Bond villain. He looks like a Bond villain. He sounds like a Bond villain, and it's all the elites coming together, flying their private jets to Davos to talk about how the environment needs to be saved as they all fly private jets to a small village in Switzerland. So whether or not so he quits, there's going to be someone else to replace him. But what does that mean? I don't know anything. Like it's all planned. It's all put together. So, but yeah, I think it's Uranus and Taurus. Yeah, that's the big
Yeah.
one here.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think Mary Lou was saying maybe the astrologer's name was, or Nancy had an astrologer. Joan
yeah.
Quigley.
Joan Quigley. That's it. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, because I
Yes.
think Joan Quigley ended up writing a book about it, about being the astrologer for Reagan.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then Michelle's saying that Princess Diana had an astrologer.
Yeah.
The smart people have astrologers.
Yes. Yes. And Lil Anderson is asking, does that mean that investments right now are risky? And I would say, I don't know, because I'm not a financial person, but it all depends. I think I would say, on what investments you're making. I'm sure if you're somebody who knows the markets and understands the markets, like people that really understand it, like they see opportunities in these moments where like, oh, this market's crashing, then that means that this market's going to be going up, or maybe hold on to cash and buy gold or something, and then like reinvest in the markets when they crash, because there'll be a lot less. Who knows? I don't know. So I wish I could help you there.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
not be investing in anything right now that you don't completely understand. And if your intuition, your spidey sense is telling you something's up with an investment, maybe you should lean into that or meditate or journal around it. But
Mhm.
yeah, but you're right. I love business. I love learning about finance. So I watch YouTube content where there's people talking about the economy and what they're projecting is coming. And
Mhm.
there are some people that have flat out said, like, we will be in a recession by summer. There are other people that say it's going to be worse than a recession. So,
The funny thing is, Delisa, is I feel like we already are in a recession. I feel like they don't say that we're in a recession though.
yeah,
Like when you're telling me, like at the beginning of our conversation here, that people are telling you that you're working with that they're in more debt than they want to be, their credit cards are maxed out, they're in more debt than they ever thought they would be. that tells me that we're in a recession because we're spending money that we don't have. And that's why I was saying at the top, we need to live within our means. We are overdrawn right now. And it's not just the people that are overdrawn, it's the country that's overdrawn. And I know people are mad at like Elon Musk and all that sort of stuff, but I think that's why Trump brought him in was, it's like the government is spending too much money. Like this is not a healthy business when uh, you keep taking money from the people and you keep going into greater debt. That's like getting a new credit card to pay your old credit card that you can't pay off. And then you get another credit card to pay off that credit card, and another card to pay off that credit card. Like that's what the government has been doing with us. More taxes, more taxes, more taxes, more debt, more debt, more debt. It doesn't add up. So, it's like when I just think about, months ago, the Palisades fire and the empty reservoir and why was the reservoir empty? Oh, it needed repairs. They were haggling over $50,000 and the repairs. How does that make sense when the people that lived in that neighborhood paid $400 million in taxes in the previous year? Where did that money go?
Yeah.
$400 million in this little neighborhood, and they couldn't have water in a reservoir because they were haggling over $50,000 in the repairs? That doesn't add up.
Yeah. No, I know. I even hear headlines up here in Washington State where the governor who, said, "Oh, yeah, I'm not going to, create any new taxes unless I have to," and then of course, like now he has to,
Mm-hmm.
because he can't get the budget in Washington State to balance. So
Mm.
I think a lot of states are going to be forced with that conversation about, well, we blew our budget.
Yeah.
Now what are we going to do? And what, we're going to tax people more and people who can't afford it. I know you have to jet. You are teaching a class.
Yes.
And you stepped in last minute to come co-host with me today. So theweeklytransit.com is your
Yes.
website, sessions, classes. You have a podcast on YouTube, The Weekly Transit. Go follow Scott. I know you're on Instagram, Facebook, all the things. Is there anything else you want to mention to folks before you jet off?
That's it. Just thank you so much, Dallisa, for having me on. It's great to see you 2 weeks in a row. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be able to share this space with you. And I want to thank everybody who's commenting here. And I really hope that what we shared here is helpful to you all.
Yay! Well, we'll see you again soon, Scott. Go have fun in your class.
Okay. Thank you, Dallisa.
Thanks. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, my buddy. He's so good. The way that he talks about astrology, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I get it. I know how to apply that to life. So again, this website is theweeklytransit.com. Yeah, and I even saw our guest for next week popped by. Yay! So she's going to be on the show next week. Narayana. Yay! So make sure you come tune in next Tuesday. I'm going to pull a couple oracle cards. I'm just curious to see what else is in the energy for this week. And then we'll pull our jar winner. Let's do a couple of cards. I want to do one from the Surrender deck. I love this deck. The Power of Surrender, Judith Orloff. Yeah, Scott is so chill, right? He is. We're a good team. We're a good team. Yeah, I've been collaborating with him for, gosh, I don't know, 4 years now or so, maybe close to 4 years. And I just met him in person in December. We went and had breakfast together, and then we went and watched a band play in LA at a little nightclub. It was so much fun. So, yeah, I like that he can explain astrology in a way that makes sense. And like, how does that apply to our life today? Yeah, just like people fighting each other. Mars and Leo, opposite. Pluto and Aquarius. Okay, so Spirit, what card do we need today to remind us of what needs to be surrendered? What do we need to let go of? Show me a jumping card, please. Yeah. Oh, all right. And then I see this one. Okay. So this feels like it goes back to what I was saying a little bit ago about the side hustle. Because I do think there's going to be more people that are going to have a full-time job and a side hustle or two side hustles. I think there's going to be like this entrepreneurial spirit that's really coming up in our conversation. That's fun. I love business. Okay, because the cards we got are surrender, procrastination. This card came up for me earlier today. Now is the time to jump on a goal instead of putting it off. Taking action will attract success. This is the card that's like, you can't see the whole staircase, but just, take the first step. So if you've been thinking about some kind of business, side business that you want to start, be open to that. I've also been sharing in Sacred Signals that when there is an economic downturn, when there is a recession or worse, when there is war, there are people that do create a lot of success and abundance for themselves. And sometimes it's about identifying a need in the market, something people need, and then finding a scrappy way on how to deliver what people need. And if you've thought about getting into the spiritual industry or doing readings or energy work, when times are uncertain, like they are now and will be for a while, there are people that really want clarity and direction and energy work and all that. So it's a very, very popular industry if you've been thinking about it for a while. And then the other card we got is surrender to the magic of who you are. It says we all have magic in us. Even in the mundane aspects of life, remember that you are a magical being with a uniqueness and worth that comes from just being you. So how could you bring your own signature to the world even more? And maybe it's not starting a side business or a business. Maybe it's, how do I share my story, my journey, my content, whether it's on YouTube or, a blog, a website. How could I share more of myself? I'm thinking about that like Aries energy that's being activated. Like I am going to tell you my story. I am going to tell you the books and resources that work best for me, right? So how could you incorporate more of your story and what you've learned out into the greater world? So interesting cards, good reminders for all of us. Because when times feel uncertain, I think we can often talk ourselves into playing it small or hiding or waiting until conditions are better. But for some businesses or opportunities, times of uncertainty is actually when they usually do the best. So don't wait on your dreams. These two, excuse me, we've got a lot of explaining to do to our friends. Okay, so I'm going to pull the jar winner here in just a moment as we begin to close out. What do I have coming up? Have you ever heard of remote viewing? Have you ever heard of top secret government programs that use remote viewers? Yes, maybe. Okay. So I've been teaching, if you're on my website, I have a psychic development levels 1 and 2. I've had a bunch of people sign up for that lately. Thanks if you're in my class or you already took the class. I have a tarot master class. But the last few months, Spirit's been saying, teach a class on remote viewing. So it's a 3-hour class that I'm teaching in May. And you get access to the full replay to watch as many times as you need, the class PDF guidebook, and you do get a certificate of completion for your records. So if you do want to have that on file for yourself, or if you want to tell people you went through the certification, you will have that. I have priced it lower than what Psychic Development 1 and 2 is, and lower than Tarot Masterclass. And if you are a Sacred Signals member, you even get a discount off of the regular price. So Sacred Signal members will get first access to the spot. So if you've been thinking about joining my community, this would be a great time. Sacred Signal members, you will get it tomorrow. Okay. Make sure you purchase it through your VIP link so that you have the lowest price. Then I will open it up publicly at the regular public price this week to anybody that's on my email list. So if you want to come and play in consciousness with me for 3 hours with fellow students, we're going to have a blast. Remote viewing is teaching you how to tap in to source energy and basically bring your energy, your awareness, to a location to pick up information. So during wartime, different countries, I think, probably still do, but they've used remote viewers to spy on other countries to see what they're doing with their bases. So a remote viewer can go into a coordinate of a military base, for example, and see what the country is doing at their military base, what supplies they have, what are they doing with missiles or bombs or anything like that. So, and once you learn how to do remote viewing, you can basically take your consciousness into any location. So I'm going to teach you how to do it, and then we're going to practice with what's called targets. And the targets are the hidden locations that you won't know what it is until your consciousness arrives at that location. So if you want to learn how to be a secret military spy, but we won't use it for those reasons. But it is a good skill to have. It's really interesting. A lot of people don't teach on it, but I've just found it to be really incredible to have. And frankly, if you learn how to remote view, you will have a deeper connection to your psychic abilities. So if you've been wanting to develop your intuition more, or to be able to have clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, develop your psychic abilities, this would be a really great class for you to take. So anyway, if you're not on my email list, now would be the time. And if you're not on Sacred Signals and you want to be, now's the time. Everything's at spiritandspark.com. Okay. And then the only other thing I had, there is a free class coming up this Saturday. A lot of you have signed up for it. It's going to be on my YouTube channel, and it's going to start at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to teach you about the new moon this month and how the new moon is going to hit your own astrology chart, how to work with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is my free class to say thank you for helping me reach the viewership goals for the recent Lee Harris episode that I was on. So all you have to do is come to my YouTube channel this Saturday, have a copy of your own astrology chart with you. If you have not signed up for the class, it's okay, but if you want my instructions on how to grab your free astrology chart, just send me an email, or you can message me through spiritandspark.com and ask me for the info, and I'll send you the info so you have your chart ready to go for class on Saturday. If you can't join us live, you will have access to the replay, but if you want to be able to interact with me and the fellow participants, come be a part of the live class on Saturday. Okay. Yeah, now they're all peaceful. Fraser's in the window staring at me like, what's wrong? Oh, Terry, I've never heard of that movie. So one of my favorite movies is Men Who Stare at Goats, all about remote viewing. Oh, I need to check that out. Victoria's asking, is remote viewing the same as astral projection? I think in a way that they could have a lot that's similar, especially if you're doing astral projection on purpose. Because some people just go to sleep and they astral project, or they're on the couch taking a nap and they astral project. Learning remote viewing is a skill. So if you're, using it in that way, the astral projection, like you could go and travel around and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think that there could be some similarities in that. So Autumn's saying that movie, Men That Stare at Goats, is based on a true story. I gotta watch it. Okay, do I have anything else? No, y'all know where to find me and the free quiz on my website. So go check that out. See what your psychic ability primary gift is if you haven't already been on there. I think that's all the things. Okay, so we need to do our drum roll. I'm so distracted by cats fighting. Okay. So, reminder that the winner's name will match, and hopefully it's not our friend from earlier. It'll match your name in the chat. So, yeah, you got to say hi. You got to comment on the chat in order to get your bauble in the jar. You will have until 11:59 Pacific Standard Time tonight to email me if you are the winner. I've just put my email address in the live chat. And so you have until midnight tonight if you are the winner to claim your personalized 12-month tarot report. Yeah, you got to say hi. There you go. Okay, drum roll. As my crystal bracelets are jangling. Okay, here we go. This week's show winner is Jennifer Hampton. Jennifer Hampton, you are this week's lucky winner. Jennifer Hampton, you have until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time today to send me an email and let me know that you are, in fact, Jennifer Hampton. So congratulations. Thanks again to Scott, theweeklytransit.com. Check out his website and his podcast. Thank you to everybody that tuned in live, everybody that's catching the replay. I appreciate it. If you don't mind giving the video that thumbs up so we signal to YouTube it was a good video and worth watching. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button so you get notified of when I go live. And of course, that class on Saturday will be on my YouTube channel as well. So you want to make sure you get that notification. So hit the bell so that you have your notifications turned on. Yay! Oh, you are welcome, Jennifer. So email me. Beautiful. Sacred Signal members, if you are joining me for Psychic Study Hall, that starts in just a few minutes, and it's not too late if you want to come and practice giving and receiving many sessions. We're going to go practice our psychic abilities. So spiritandSparks.com. All right, everybody, I'll see you on Saturday for the free class, and I'll see you again Tuesday for another episode of Planets and Predictions. Catch me on my website between now and then or on social media. See you later.